welcome to the Restoration Roundtable. This is a standard bi-monthly meeting that we have for the Restoration Rebel Group, going on a couple of years now. I'll be letting people in, but today is August 15th, and here's a few people in the waiting room waiting to come in. Open the door. What's the secret password? We have this meeting is just a kind of a casual, almost a campfire of restoration professionals getting around talking. Sometimes it turns goofy. Sometimes we're talking about real serious topics. Just before I went live, Kristen asked a question, but I first want to look and see if there's anybody in here new that's never been here. And I'm sorry, Thomas Adams. Have you ever been into our roundtable before?
I was there last week. I didn't say anything.
You were there last week. You didn't say that. You want to make up for it this time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us about you. Where are you from and what you do?
I own a Service Master in Lubbock, Texas.
Ooh, I love Lubbock. There's something wrong with me. I really like Lubbock, Texas for some reason.
So I'm just getting started.
Now, how close, do you know Christian in Abilene?
I met him one time.
Great. Yeah, I don't know if he'll be on here. I don't know if he'll be on here tonight or not, but he's usually a pretty big attendee in the group. Chad, nice to see you. Bob, Adam, how are you doing? Sean, Dwayne, and Kristen. Glad everybody could be here. So Kristen asked the question, how many legitimate chapters do we have? So first, let me talk about what chapters means in case you don't know, and for those watching at home or in your car or wherever you're at. The Restoration Rebels is literally just the Facebook group, the page, that the genesis of everything, the very first thing that we started. But we've transitioned over into something that we hope we can become more formal. Not formal is the right word, but more structured, organized, of professional restoration contractors in this country, trying to raise the bar, trying to unify in ways where we can have standard practices that we quit getting beat up. So one certain way that we have adopted that we can really start making real unity and connection, and Kristen is a member of such a chapter, is creating localized chapters. Some are entire states and some are smaller regions. It kind of really depends more on population and participation. So Kristen, 3 full legitimate chapters right now. We have, of course, yours for Washington State, for you and your team. I'd like you to talk about your event today. I know you had a second, it wasn't really a chapter meeting, but you had something that kind of tied into the chapter. There's Eastern Idaho, which is basically Idaho Falls, Little Cheyenne, Wyoming, which seems like a really odd place to have one, but there's a huge number of restorers in Blackfoot in that area. It doesn't go all the way to Boise. As we grow that region, it might splinter off into 2 because Boise is 4.5, 5 hours away, but we'll just have to see. But we're starting in bigger clumps right now and then break off as, again, logistics need. Then we have Maryland. Maryland had their live event yesterday again. They met together in some place south of Baltimore, and I have not heard how it went or everything, but Dawn Nagoff is the chapter director there and is really trying to get some legs under it. We have some other chapters that were started and have not taken off, and it's probably a mix of things. I'm going to go ahead and take some hits. People just need a real recipe or a roadmap or blueprints on what to do, and we've created that, but it looks like we need to create more fine. John May is the director of the chapters, and I don't think John's on here tonight. Well, actually, I know he's not, but there are some people waiting to get in. Robert Marie. So, what is a chapter? Why do we do it? How do we do it? What does it look like? And what do we do once we're in them? And that's the big question. It's not going to be the same things, but to your question, Kristen, We have Colorado, which is currently looking, the leader of that chapter that was trying to put it together has reached out and said he overcommitted and he's just not, he runs his company in a way that he just doesn't have the extra bandwidth between his family and his thing like that. So we're currently recruiting and looking for a chapter, because we have a chapter director there. We have a lot of rebels and a lot of contractors in Denver, and they have a slew of very specific regional issues there with staffing. They're in a huge boom crisis there and they're having a hard time finding people, but that's everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. We have the same situation for North Texas is looking for a director. Chris Jeter was going to be their director, but he's taking another venture that's with air right now and tackling another industry-wide issue. And we're currently looking for a director there, and then the Ozarks and Atlanta. So the Ozarks would be Arkansas and southern Missouri, which are no more than an hour and a half, 2 hours apart. So, and then Atlanta's a tough one. Everybody sees each other as competition there in a heavy duty way. We have to work on that. We have to put some value and create an image that it's not like, hey, we don't have to be enemies. And listen, I'm in a market today that probably fits that MO perfectly. I'm in Orlando, Florida. And you can't throw a rock and not hit a restoration contractor in some way here. But there's no cohesion between any of them. And therefore, I'm here with Nick, and I think we both agree, just from what we know, if my house flooded here, there's only about 3 or so in the city that I would call because of inconsistency. So it's really important to me and to us, I think, in this industry, is to start separating the pros from the others. So, Kristen, why don't you talk about your chat? Since we're on it, we'll spend 10 minutes or so on chapters, and we'll move on. But looks like Blaine's not here tonight, or no?
No.
Where's Blaney? So
Blaine's almost never on these calls.
Yeah, there's a Timmels. Yep. So, yep. Well, why don't you speak for your chapter, since you make it all go anyway?
Hey, Bob.
We frozen? Yeah, we were frozen.
Oh, that's not good. We got full.
Yep.
So a year ago. When was that? July? No. February? I don't know. Whenever we had our live event, when you came up. Sorry, I've been up since 4. So that, I think, was like our official chapter launch date when we had that summit in Seattle at John Donne. And since then, we've been doing monthly Zoom calls. And we're trying to set up our next live event, probably going to be October or November here in Washington. But we're really trying to focus on our infrastructure and building in the value of what it is to be an AIR member, and push people to get off, to take the next step from being just on Facebook and to really be joining AIR and to create the value in joining AIR. So on this week's call on Tuesday for the month of August, we announced that we're going to start using Slack for AIR members in the state of Washington. At Premier, we use Slack as a company, and it's a great tool. It's like Clark and I have talked about, it's not scalable for all 4,000 members that are in the Rebel group, but for the Washington chapter, which really only has 10 human members right now, it's totally scalable. And I think it will allow us that kind of secure interaction that we're looking for, and to kind of create that camaraderie and build that relationship between each other, so that we know we're not competition and we can be assets to each other. So we've built out a Washington AIR Slack workspace, and we've created channels like policy review and billing and a break room to kind of let some steam off. And we're hoping that will replace our Washington Rebel Facebook group. Also, obviously, people will still stay in the big Rebels group, but we're hoping that Slack for AIR will kind of become a tool in the meantime while AIR is looking to build an app or whatever they're going to do. And then today, We had a training session at Aramco, which is like a John Don. And we learned about the Cerium 1000 mini machine. It sprays this chemical that helps get rid of mold. And you can tell I'm not a technician. So I was in on it. It was really interesting to hear all about it. It was interesting to see it in process. And we had people from Washington Restore, who's one of our air members, from Advanaclean, Jared and one of his technicians came, so that was great. And then there were, I think, 6 of us from Premier. So it was a great class. I think we all learned a lot. They've got this mini sprayer now at Aramco that we can be renting, and the guy Frank gave us some really good tools on how to sell it and what the difference is between that and spraying like hydrogen peroxide out of a green bottle, and told us not to blow ourselves up. So it was really beneficial, I think, and we only opened it to paying air members. Doing things like that's going to really help kind of build the value of why you want to pay to be an air member. It's not just to get access to the website, but it's to have access to extra training and stuff like that.
So I have a question, Kristen.
Yes.
You said 10 human members. How many non-human members do you have?
I wasn't gonna say anything. Do you guys ever like allow your pets to have Facebook
She has
pages in the
horses.
group?
She has
I
horses.
mean, I have a lot of pets, so.
She's not a cat lady. She's a horse lady, a bee lady, and
I like
she's a beekeeper.
Oh, I like that.
So if we count my bees, we have approximately 1 million members. So
Biggest
look at that,
chapter.
the biggest chapter.
So, so I want to, Rich Gagian came into the room. Hey, Rich, how you doing, bud?
Oh, not too bad. How's everybody doing?
Good. I want to call upon you in just a minute about the chapter meeting. But Kristen, what do you think about? So the question is always about what are the core things that we're trying to do with a chapter. How about we pick 6 or 8 like staple bullet point things that are, peer reviews. We can't talk about pricing, but what right looks like, what wrong looks like, examples of what we have found, jobs that we've come behind. I don't really want to say problem adjusters. I don't really want it to be a gang up on people. I want it to be as positive as possible. We could easily go negative, but I'm letting some more people in the room real quick. But just hearing people saying, or hiring practices or things like that, like what can we put up there? There's going to be a lot more things than those, but those are the starter pack. This is I think that's a good thing to put what comes up. Because we deal with stuff all day. We look at topics in the group and just pick one. Can we charge for ohm meters? Can we charge for voltometers? But what do we call this, or what do we do with that? Best practices for photographs or something like that. Those are all things, and every time it changes. So, hey, Rich, Rich, you had a gathering for the Maryland chapter. Was that Tuesday or Wednesday or?
Tuesday morning over at the Interlink in Jessup, Maryland.
How did that go?
We had a decent turnout, I guess, for our first meeting. There was 7 or 8 people there from 4 different companies.
Okay.
Actually, there's about 9 people, I think, maybe 10. We even had fit in from one of the larger companies that's not a member. They were there picking up some equipment, and the guy sat down. He didn't seem too interested. I think we kind of appointed a president, but we're not sure if she is the president yet. We have a secretary to take our notes, and we're working on a few things for our next meeting. I think we're going with the quarterly meetings and events in between. One of the things that I was pushing for is to have our state OSHA representative come in and give us a little presentation, and then from there we're going to go and see what kind of topics we can get training on for us as a group instead of going at it individually at our shops.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for now, but we're just starting.
I love it. Forward progress, right?
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Yep. One bite at a time. Cool. So, topics to talk about. I probably had, there's Brian Roush. Hey, Brian, we lost each other. We were talking earlier today about a situation. We lost each other. Let's talk about, this is what we call sometimes in the industry the slow season. How's everyone's business? Chad Burris said he's not. He goes, I'm not slow. He said, no, he's not slow. Are you busy up there in Washington, Kristen?
We are so busy, it's stupid.
I think I'm hearing that you're busy here.
18 floods in 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a client in Montana, and they're not calling it a tornado, they're just calling it a
Wind event.
a wind event, and that's probably for the policy language, right, Kristen?
Oh yeah.
Hail. It looked, the fences and the Howdy plank look like Swiss cheese. I mean, a lot of big hailstorm, a whole community. He had like 40 jobs on a list waiting for board ups and whatnot. So it does look like a lot of people are really, really busy right now. Rich, are you seeing a lot of work up there?
Yeah, but I do a lot of cleaning. I'm not a full-time restoration person.
Yeah.
So I'm not a good barometer.
But Adam, what about you? Adam, you with us? You're down around Austin, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm right between San Antonio and Austin.
New Braunfels?
Yes, that's our largest population area.
Yep. I used to live on Lady Bird Lane for a
Oh
minute.
wow!
Over there by the university.
Right.
Am I going to see you in Austin this what is it, October?
I think it's September.
Yeah.
Unless the date moved.
No, it's not moving. I'm just not good with dates, you know.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Very possibly. I have it down on my calendar, so I'm waiting.
I'd like to meet you because I've seen you in the group a lot. But are you seeing pretty busy?
No,
No.
no, it's been quiet.
Really? Well, you're right up the road from another Brian that's in the room here. He's in Houston, down around Dickinson, right south of Houston, Dickinson,
Oh yeah.
Lake Jackson area. So, but there's a lot of rebels around you, Adam. We're just not getting. We need to get and talk about a chapter because San Antonio and in Austin and Central Lake. I bet there's a dozen and a half right around the corner from you.
Really?
Mhm.
I'd be interested for sure.
Yeah.
This is just my first year in the industry, and it's been quite a bit of learning.
Yeah. Are you
The
with a
group's been
franchise or
very-
independent?
I bought a franchise, Restoration One.
Yeah. What did you do before, Adam? What kind of industry were you in, and what brought you to this? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was just wondering.
No, that's fair. Most of the part is residential construction,
Okay.
running operations and service for some national builders around the country.
Nice.
And it's a venture that to get out of corporate and start building something for ourselves.
Right.
It was a fairly natural transition in interest.
The way that you estimate and budget and things is much different, but you probably run your projects really tight with budgeting and subs and stuff. So you probably have
The
that.
subs in that are tight, both financially and hard to find.
Yeah.
We too are like most of the country, just booming.
Booming.
It's hard to get anybody to reasonably quote.
Since you've stepped away from that industry and you've started, this is your first year, so I'm just, not once again, not to put you on the spot, but has that been your main focus, is to go back to these national builders to handle their restoration and water work?
I have approached one, just a regional builder, and they said that they would be happy to use me, but they haven't had a lot of calls. I check in with them quarterly, and personally know their VP and president there, and with the plumbers and carrying the warranties. And many of those plumbers are outside of my marketing territory, unfortunately. I'm a bit hands tied where I can't go market to those folks directly to bring me in. for those builders.
Cool. But I want to guys, I'm looking into the Rebel page right now, and I found a topic that I want to bring up, and this is something I talk about a lot of times. It's from Jared Toppenberg. And Kristen, you need to get on Jared about not joining the roundtable. So,
You know I already am.
for those of you who are fairly busy to crazy busy, how many hours are your techs putting in on average? I run across this a lot of times that people saying, my guys are all at 60, 70 hours a week on overtime. And there's a couple of things going on there. First off, that's how burnout happens, because those are some pretty long hours, and it's not just straightforward like sitting in a cubicle hours. Your mental and physical, probably wearing Tyvek suits at least a third of that time, driving in traffic. I mean, you need to think about it. Listen, the techs are the first ones to say, I love my overtime, but they also like days off sometimes too. But here's been my point all forever for hourly companies and techs. When you hit Thursday and you start a new project, whether you bill an Xactimate or whatever, however you bill an invoice, your guys you're inheriting people that are on overtime, but you're billing your hours at straight. So you need a guy to go respond to a job who's costing you 1.5 times as much, and you're not recouping that. So it really is, you've got to look at hiring more people. And I know it's hard to hire people right now, but does anyone follow that methodology, that especially people that have worked over after hours and whatnot, but on Thursday, if they're at 48 hours and you start a new job for Mrs. Burris, every hour those guys are working on there are costing you a premium, and you're only billing for regular standard hours if it's during 8 to 5 or whatever. You can't just, that client can't inherit a premium on that hour because your guys are on overtime. Does anybody adjust for that on their billing?
Labor. Bring in your labor force.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've been talking with Clark about is that a lot of restoration companies, as I talk to them more and more and more, they're afraid to have good contacts and good relationships with labor companies. Tonight we had a project, we had 10 rooms inside of a medical facility that we had to have all the contents wiped clean, tagged, and packed out. My guys are in overtime, and we still have some weekend projects. So I have a very good relationship with a sponsor of the Rebels, always on call, David DeGroff, great guy. I called him up and I said, look, dude, give me 9 guys. So I sent my project manager, who's on salary out there. I took 9 of his laborers that I'm paying straight money on, and I had them do the pack out and the clean. Why not? It cost me nothing. I could still bill my normal amount, and I didn't get my guys into farther overtime. But when I talk to restoration companies, they say, well, what's that going to cost me? Then I have to pay this labor company. Then I have to do this. And no, you're billing the same things if your guy was there or not, except your guy's in overtime. So why is this even thought? Am I wrong?
No.
It blows me away.
Does anybody else use temporary or casual or a labor force for your surges like that? Chad, you guys, I'm sure you do it Firestar, right?
Yeah, we do it quite a lot. That's pretty normal for us to use a temporary labor source.
Yeah. Bob, do you ever have to dip into some temp labor? And Dylan doesn't count.
I did years ago, a couple different times.
Yeah.
Temporary labor.
Dylan doesn't count as temp labor. He's full time.
Yeah.
That's his son, everyone.
That's his boy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how you manage a staff and not have to, well, how do I keep 12 people on my staff busy for the times that I need them? You don't. You have 5 or 4 and find a good relationship with some guys, and you'll pay a little extra for some good people that when they show up, they know containment and your equipment and how where your truck is, how it's stacked and where stuff goes and how you like the cords taped. And believe me, you'll put on a whole lot better show for your customer doing that. And the question is do you do that in a residential setting? Now, you don't really want temps in a residential.
Well, it's about having a good temp company. So when I look at a company I'm using Always on Call because that's what I use. Half of his guys are veterans. Half of his guys are stay-at-home dads or quasi-stay-at-home dads that are veterans, and they're willing to make extra money. So, Andrew Denizard, Stephen McKnight, these are all guys that did 2, 3, 4 tours in Iraq, and now they're kind of quasi stay-at-home dads. But if I've got a day or two of work for them, they're just as good, if not better than any of my guys. They've now worked for me for 2, 3, 4 years. I'll put them head to head with any one of my technicians. They're basically technicians. They're technicians for hire. But I only pay $25 an hour for them, which after FICA and everything else, my technicians, I'm paying more than that now. So
Yeah.
it costs me less to use them. But
I think that's always been our big concern with bringing in temp laborers. We're primarily a residential restoration company. We do some light commercial, but the bulk of what we do is residential. And we do a lot of promoting that all of our guys are background checked and drug tested. And we spend a ton of time training our guys. And I think the concern has been bringing in temp labor. We don't know what their background check. We don't know how recently that was done, if it was done. We don't know if they've ever passed a drug test. And if we haven't seen them before, putting training into them, we don't know they know how to do containment, that they know how to set up our truck, any of that kind of stuff.
well, and that's the key with finding, when I keep saying finding a good labor company, is that, so David, every single employee is background checked every 6 months. Every single employee is fit tested every 6 months. And I said, why do you do every 6 months? It's good for a year. And he said, I have guys come in, I have guys that go out. I'm not going to try to keep track of who has what, when, how. He goes, I just do it every 6 months. So if I missed you on this one, or you started a week late after the last one I did, that, everybody's already guaranteed to be fit tested. But I'm using it as an example, but there is good, if you spend, half a day, guys, 2 hours, 3 hours, call each of the labor companies you have within 20, 30 miles of you and have this conversation and say, listen, can you get me 5 guys that can pass a drug test and our background check that I can call when I need to, and see what they say?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hey, all these temporary groups and stuff we're talking about, we got a bunch of them around my area that I try to use, but their insurance will not cover what we do.
We're carpet cleaners.
Huh?
We're carpet cleaners. You ask my accountant, I'm a carpet cleaner. There is no tax code for mold remediation. So I'm a carpet cleaner.
Well, no, they don't look at it that way here. They look at it as for the restoration. Anything restoration around here is kind of taboo.
So your workers' comp code is restoration, or is it carpenter, or what?
Actually, they like to use the asbestos code.
Oh no! Woo! No!
Man, you don't have a shirt. You don't have a shirt on your back, do you?
You need a better insurance thing.
With Sterling this afternoon, talking. You got a lot of good guys that you can, they pass the background and all that, but they will not let them step foot on any of my projects because it's considered a restoration and a hazard. I don't know. How do you guys have that situation where you guys go?
Like I said, we're registered as a carpet cleaner, and we don't touch asbestos, and we have our jobs tested on every single job to make sure that it's not asbestos. So I would come back to them and say, what exactly hazardous material are it? We're doing demo. We're doing
to the point they are, with wearing masks and suits and stuff like that. They don't allow. They can be a ground man and clean up shingles, but what good does that do me?
Yeah.
That's terrible. We're registered as a general contractor.
Do what?
We're registered as a general contractor.
We are. I am too. But it still doesn't. When you need help like that.
Which area are you in?
Dwayne, you're in Kentucky, right?
Kentucky, where they don't believe in LinkedIn and they don't know what Twitter is.
I don't know what either one of those two things is either, so I guess that's a Florida thing as well.
Jesus.
It's here. We just don't use it.
Well, Dwayne, send me over a message, man. Send me over a PM on Facebook, and I'll reach out. I know a couple other guys I think that are right there up in Southern Ohio that have a really good labor company. Maybe they could work out something and try to team up with you and help you out.
Yeah, whenever I know John's busy right now, but I'm trying to get the chapter started here in Kentucky, so I've got about 7 or 8 people. So.
John's not busy. Don't believe that.
Yeah.
No, John May.
Oh, okay.
Hey, go ahead, Rich. You got your hand raised.
We actually had this discussion at our meeting. there are a couple of local companies that we shared around. And I think everyone took down the names so we could actually develop relationships with them. They were brought to our attention by Trey. They used to work for a larger company. They used them all the time. I think that's great because the pool of guys that I have, I either call several different groups or I have a small, I hate to say it, unlicensed contractor that's got a labor pool that I'll bring in on larger projects. And, you know, I have to pay their insurance and pay them cash, literally. So the labor pool is tough.
Rich, why don't you get whoever y'all were talking about the labor pool, why don't you bring them to your next meeting and have them come in and do a presentation and talk about what that looks like and some rates and kind of figure some of that stuff out and figure out how you can plug that in.
Great idea. That is a great idea. I'll be sharing that with Don later.
Yeah, I have those about every 6 months.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. We're also trying to arrange to get what's the word? An appraisal company come in and talk to us about what they do as opposed to what a public adjuster would do.
Oh, okay.
And what those were a couple of the other ideas that we floated. But I'll leave that stuff up to people that know more than me. I'm a newbie as far as I consider myself.
Well, I think any chapter should bring in a really good qualified IEP or an IH firm and start looking at the testing requirements. I think that's something that's still not dug into enough is asbestos, lead, and silica is coming up. So depending on what you're doing, and in Bob's case, I mean, every fire you do should be tested. So every job, you don't know what the contaminants are. You in the OSHA reg is you don't know. It's your obligation to find out what's there. If someone can prove it to you. So maybe get Vinny. Do you know Vinny, Rich?
I know one, but he always does mold. There are a couple of companies around. That was my motivation for bringing up the state OSHA Department of
Absolutely.
Occupational Safety and Health to come in and give us a presentation, and we could bring in a couple of consultants like that.
I love it. Yeah, you're free to bring in anybody you want to. Hey, Brian, you got to raise your hand. Oh, look at Morris. What's up, Big Chief?
Hey, I might be a little late, but I made it.
Hey, we don't keep score. Hey, Brian, what's your question?
Well, you know, the loss I was dealing with today, I was talking to a large carrier that's covering this, and thankfully the homeowner had the extra mold coverage. And I said, hey, it's part of my SOP that I do testing. I'm going to test for asbestos because this thing was built in the 80s. And I'm going to test for mold because this has been going on for a while, but it's just recently discovered. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, you're proof. Go ahead and do that. And I found a firm out of Tyler that they're pretty much the only game in town here in East Texas, unless you start calling out to Dallas, and not going to do that. But yeah, I remember Bob telling me that, gosh, almost 2 years ago now when I met him in Phoenix. Yeah, I'm taking this testing seriously because I know so many people poo-poo it, and the field manager, he even told me, he said, well, it's Texas, it's residential. I said, yeah, but I had, there's this little thing called OSHA 1932 that I have to comply to. Plus I have people in this house that are immunocompromised. So I'm testing anyway. And he goes, okay, understood. But I guess in our industry, a lot of people just blow it off and poo-poo it. So I'm glad that is being discussed this evening.
Well, I wanted to continue to be discussed. And does anybody want to take Bob, what's the big reason why people are not testing?
I think the biggest reason people aren't testing is insurance carriers or adjusters going back and saying we don't cover it, or they don't want to take the time. They think that they got to get right on it, or they may be on program work that doesn't allow it. Say, no, that's not going to be part of this. I think those are your reasons why a lot of people are not doing it.
So I personally know of a restoration contractor in this country that was fined $78,400. Okay, I'm going to do some simple math here. let's say you can get the testing done, asbestos testing on a house for $560, $700. You do 100 a year, 7,000. How many years are you in business before you ever get to that one series of fines that you got? Whether or not the insurance pays for it doesn't escape. Nobody's going to be in court with you next to the judge saying, well, I couldn't find anybody to pay for it. Okay, case dismissed. Doesn't happen that way. OSHA doesn't play like that. So, I mean, listen, it's the law. We follow a lot of laws, and I guess we're just choosing which ones we follow and which ones we don't. So, listen, I just don't want to hear. We're going to hear about somebody in this group if they step up and say, I got dinged by OSHA, because they will not test just the job that they hear about. They'll go back to your records and test all your jobs. It's happened. So,
Excuse me.
who is going to next level? Or you got something on that? Hold on.
Sorry.
Nick's got something on the.
I was throwing my thing in the charger. So, boys and girls, I got dinged. So we're doing a project at a retirement home, kind of in the outskirts of Greater Orlando. And this brand new woman who had just came up from Miami, and if any of you have had to deal with any of the government officials and regulations in Miami, they're ridiculous. Makes California look simple. And this woman shows up and she says, I see that you applied for these reconstruction permits. And I'm on the restoration side. It was the reconstruction side that she was technically talking to. And they said, yes. And they said, I see here that you clicked that there is no asbestos containing building materials on the job site. And he said, yeah, it was built in the late 80s and we don't think that there's anything in here. And she goes, show me the tests. And he said, what tests? And they said, well, it was built in the late 80s. It's after the thing. I don't have to test it. And she said, no, what this says is there contaminated building materials inside this thing? You did not. You clicked yes, and you did not test it. $10,000 fine on the spot. She went back and checked through all the records, any place else that they had pulled a permit, and handed out an additional $20,000 before the end of the day on other projects that they did not test. They picked up $30K in one day. That's why I test on every job. I don't give a shit who pays for it.
There you have it.
Sucks.
We've talked about this a lot. I know it gets, nobody wants to talk about it. But I'll tell you what, that gets real expensive. Hey, let me change the subject. Who's going to next level next week? Rich?
Yes, sir.
Rick, Nick's going.
Yep, I'm going.
Cool. Well, I just talked to Jeremy today, and we're doing a giveaway, Rich. Air's got a giveaway to add to the. I'm not able to go. I have to be back down here in Florida again next week. But I'm going to do a screen share and show you what I'm giving away. This is I'm previewing it for everybody here. You're going to like this. Everybody wants one. A PAPR, Pepper. And so no fit test required. What's that?
Sweet.
Yeah.
So those, once you get those, you'll never go back. And they last a long time if you take care of them.
Mine for 6 years, 7 years.
5, 6, 7 years. I would say Bob uses these, right, Bob? Yeah, maybe Bob doesn't.
Bob's on mute.
Yes, I use them. I got 8 of them actually.
You know what I find when you have more expensive equipment, I find that the crews take care of it more than they do lesser.
You know what James Groves just did? He said, I'll make so James Groves, another rebel here in Orlando who I met through the Rebels, and now good friend of mine, and we call each other and try to help each other out as much as possible. But he went to his guys and he said, you guys don't want to get fit tested, that's fine. I'll buy the masks and I'll take it out of your paycheck if you want. But I'll make a deal with you. If you do this, this, and this, he sets weekly goals. If you meet these weekly goals of just making sure your paperwork's turned in, your van's clean, and this and that, if you meet these weekly goals, I won't take the 25, 30, 40 bucks out of your paycheck that week. I'll take ownership of it. And he does it as a weekly goal. And he said every one of his guys signed up for it. He put $7 grand out, $8 grand out, something like that. But his paperwork's turned in every week. His trucks are cleaned every week. All of his documents and photos are updated. He says the best money he ever spent.
I like that.
No, I'm stealing it from James.
Well, Rich, I'm really excited about next level, and Nick's going too. But
No crab cakes for Nick. Sorry.
no crab cakes.
Come on, man.
No
I already ate them.
Oh,
So I really like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We'll have to get Trey to bring some down. He's out there crabbing tomorrow.
he went crabbing today, man. He just sent me a picture a couple minutes ago.
Slacking bastard.
Cool.
How many people here have problems with their technicians wearing PPE? Is that an issue?
Every day, all day for 16 years.
So what, do you pay additional money if they have to wear it?
I don't in particular because our pay structure is slightly different than I think almost anybody else in the country. We pay stupid money for my guys. So we don't give that benefit. But even then, they'll put it on and wear it for 30 minutes, take it off to do something, and then just forget to put it back on and go back to work. It's not even them they just,
So
a bunch of idiots I've ever met.
So what we do to curb that is they make more money if they're suited up. If they're not suited up, then they get less money. So all of a sudden, you're gonna see people that we want to suit up. Maybe sometimes when they shouldn't be, but that's the way we run that. I mean, if you're suited up, you're gonna get hazardous pay. If you're not suited up, it doesn't require it, you don't get it, and it works fine. Just a tip.
I can see everybody showing up to monitor a job in their Tyvek. We'll show you, Bob. We'll show you.
Yeah.
Morris, how are you?
Pretty good. I'm in Indiana tonight. Our franchise is having a owners gathering meeting, so we're doing some training and stuff. Things are doing okay. Can't complain.
Morris would stop. Service team of professionals. Or are you in Indianapolis or where are you?
Yeah. Indianapolis or somewhere around there. That's the airport we went into.
Yeah. Nice. Those events pretty good, huh? Get you a lot of fellowship with other people or what?
It's always good to meet other owners in the franchise and talk with them and see what they've been experiencing. We do it twice a year. And watch the growth from some of the other franchises and how they're advancing and things they're seeing and running into and how they're dealing with it. Get some feedback.
You know, much of the formation of AIR was using a lot of the very positive parts of franchise. Franchising has its positives where there is a sense of community and a unity of a group that are aligned, you know, obviously in consistency and procedures, but you know, there's a lot of benefits from group buys and discounts, but getting together with those, you know, your peers like that on a regular basis. I know Pure Clean has what they call a growth group twice a year, or a group of 11 to 12 or 13, depending geography. They'll get together on a weekend, bring their P&Ls, and they'll just tear into each other's numbers and look at all their issues and look at their procedures and kind of come out on the other side a little tougher, a little bit beaten up, but a lot better for it. So I'd like to see those things continue to develop with these, and that's what chapters can do. But sometimes outside of your own region, you'd like to go. It means something if you're, you know, Morris is in Dallas or in Fort Worth, meeting with a guy in, you know, Louisiana or Utah, and seeing what he comes across, because he comes across the same thing. So cool. Well, safe travels, Morris.
I appreciate it. I'll be home tomorrow night.
Cool. It's 9:18 here, so I wanted to wrap up with kind of some
Whenever you're ready, sir.
What's that?
Talk about social businesses.
Oh, somebody got to mute. I want to wrap up here tonight with and clear the air on a series of posts and almost a theme of the group here lately. I think it could easily be misconstrued, and maybe rightfully so. So I personally have been making some posts, but I know some others have as well. What we're seeing with the Rebels group, and different people are going to see it different ways based on how long they've been there and what they compare it to and what they consider. But many people that have been here for a few years, from that viewpoint, are starting to see a change. I won't necessarily say it's a bad. There are some bad things. There were bad things before, but our group has grown to such a size and magnitude that we've got a couple of people here in the room that are moderators and admins. We're spending more of our time moderating and herding cats and blocking people and removing comments that are inappropriate. That's becoming a very occupying thing, and not so much of acting like adults and professionals. We're trying to do the right thing, give good sage advice, learn something ourselves. It's really becoming, it almost feels intentional, like people are just trying to really just cause like a ruckus room, you know, or a rumpus room or whatever they call that. And we'll agree that somewhere along the way, the ability to vet people and because become harder and harder. And there are a lot of people in there. I think, Dwayne, did you post right before the call that, did you really go through every member's profile today?
Didn't go through the profile. I just went through all the names.
Oh, yeah.
That was
So Nick and I went through the locations of cities where in countries. So we have members here from Pakistan, China, Algiers,
Egypt, Lebanon.
India. Listen, they aren't members. They're manufacturers of equipment. They just somehow get in here. We are at a point, and we're having some very serious conversations about multiple things about this, but it's time for a culling. It's time to clean up the garden, get back to the professionals, the best in the industry, the leaders that we want, that we need, and then those that are looking to gain the knowledge to become future leaders in this industry. We don't have that right now. Facebook has made it very hard to do those things. We can't really tell much by somebody's profile. First off, it's just whatever they wanted to decide to put there. So they may be somebody completely different. You know, it may say Alfred E. Newman, but it may be, you know, it may be somewhat a terrorist. I don't know, but it makes it real difficult, which is why we've continued to talk about transitioning to something like AIR, where there's some accountability in personalities. Like, we know who we are and who we're sharing a room with and what's safe to say. You don't have adjusters calling you up and saying, hey, I know you're a part of this anti-insurance group on the internet, and we're not anti-insurance, we're just anti-pressure against us making a good, fair living. But so we're having some conversations about that, and I'm getting a lot of messages saying, oh, is it over? Are you closing down the group? Literally, people were asking me today, are you closing down the whole group? I felt like saying, yeah, we're gonna nuclear bomb it. It's gonna blow up. Run! No, listen, that's not the way, because I think a lot of people will say, I don't see any of the issues you're talking about. I've only been here a month, and this is amazing. And that is a true thing. We don't have the ability. Who here in this room, if you've been here a while, Chad, everybody else, Kristen, somebody comes in tomorrow and says, hey, do I have to use Xactimate on jobs? Or what's the line item code for, you know, whatever it might be. When we all know that we have 413 posts about the same topic, how on Facebook we can't make a library of FAQs about that? I mean, I literally have white papers on those things that we produce and have a library of documents, and we could point somebody and say, hey, go look through all these white papers. I bet there's something in there that you can not only learn, but you can download and use it in your daily operations to put that into your billing. But we don't have the ability with Facebook to do those things, or not easily. So we're not going to close down the group. I think sometimes we feel like we should and want to, because we know that AIR is a better thing. But let's talk about AIR for a minute. It's 924 here. It's clunky. It's yep, that guy. It's clunky. It's not smooth. It's not Facebook. You know, a little bit under $1 billion has been invested into the platform. The performance isn't there. It's just not where it needs. It's not where everything else is. What did I say?
A little bit under $1 billion.
He called that a little under $1 billion.
Our budget is much bigger than I thought it was, guys.
But that's, you know, that's obviously a very sarcastic statement for me to make, but that's really what it sounds like some people expect. And I don't think they do, but we're all animals of behavior and habits, and it's got to be easy, right? So we have 1,000 things to do every day. and how do we consume that? So I'm looking for that answer right now. Kristen, I don't know this. I loved what I saw on Slack, but I don't know that Slack is the thing. I looked at some apps today. I mean, all things point back to Facebook's the best option we've got, but that's what we've got. So I don't have the answers, and I think that's what's bothering me is I like having the answers to everything.
He was so fucking pissed off last night sitting at my kitchen table. He's like, I just don't know.
Yeah, Nick's over here is like, you have to do something about this. There was some crown involved.
There may be a few glasses.
Anyway, I wanted to address that. It's not a pity party. It's just, I don't think that people realizing Kristen, Morris, Bob, Dwayne are all moderators of this group. And we all put in a lot of time, probably more than it's healthy sometimes, but we really believe in it. I don't think people realize that when we get a PM about this place is starting to suck, it kind of hurts because we're working real hard. And I want to ask the question, where are you? Why aren't you helping? What do you want to do about it? And that's the answer I give. Or have you, what have you contributed to this to help do that? I've seen you taking, and I see you said your business is doing great now, which by the way, I love, but how do you give back and how do you, things like that. So that's not an unfair, sarcastic answer. It's really just how the world works. And there's going to be a point where you don't get stuff for free anymore, just like your businesses. Join AIR. It costs a little bit of money, but there's some skin in the game. And then you'll know you're with the right people. So I wanted to clear that up, but somebody asked me, are you really going to kill the rebel group? I'm like, I don't know. What time is it?
Wait till tomorrow.
So,
and even then, contributing does not necessarily mean that you have to be the wisest sage who's been doing this, you know, Clark's been, what, 20 some odd years, 25 years?
11 years, 4 years.
4 years, sorry, okay. But a bunch of us, we've been doing this, you know, I've done this longer than I've not done this in my lifetime now. But that's not the stuff that I get from the page. Sometimes it's when one of you guys makes a post though, hey man, my guy's killed it on a job today. I didn't have to correct anything. Everything went great. The paperwork was in. And it was just a really good day for the company. Something small and stupid like that on a Wednesday when you're in the weeds, you got 6 things piled up on top of your head. For me, I did something like that. And I go, you know what? I do remember the times when that does happen. I do, you know, and it, to me, that's something I can take away from a group. That doesn't necessarily have to be what's the Xactimate code for cleaning up dog poop on a patio.
What is the code for that?
CLM AV plus.
Yeah.
But
you know who's really good about positive posts? Jeremy Newman.
Yeah.
Jeremy Newman comes flying in like a knight in shining armor with some real good clarity and says, you know what? I had a really bad week and then I had a customer do this for us or send me this great review and now I feel great. So, I mean, that's obviously a feel good story, but sometimes that helps, right? So, open table, what you got?
I want to know what the heck Brian's doing.
Brian's playing ping pong?
he's rearranging his entire laundry room. And
Right?
remember,
This is the loss in Longview. HVAC units, vertical units have been leaking condensate for a very long time. And the subfloor is completely soaked in this utility room. And I'm working on pulling the lowers right now so I can get the carpeting out, so I can get to drying this place.
So Brian, remember, lift with your back, small jerking motions. That's the key.
I already had that earlier this week. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And, you know, I've been ghosted since around early July because we had a death in the family, and then we had to come up here to work on a rental property that got vacated. And I just landed this job, and I still have my stuff going on in Houston. So for me, yeah, I'm busy, but I'm still chucking a truck. I hope momentum's building where I can finally hire somebody to be with me. But yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying the conversation right now.
He's in Longview, Texas, people. If you knew anything about that town, you would be laughing.
Well, and Clark's from Kilgore down the street, and you'd laugh harder. So
Me and McConaughey. All right.
that's right.
What else, guys? What do you got?
I think Air should go to a app. So if you can click on an app and have all the files really available, easy to just pick up, I think that's where you'll see more people get into it. Just my opinion, my 2 cents.
If you use the vBoard for the forum portion of it, and then you can use Tapatalk to integrate to it, yeah, you'll get more engagement that way.
I don't know what you just
I was
said.
just gonna say, bro, is that like some Texas shit?
You're gonna have to slow down and break that down for me later.
Okay, so vBoard is the most common platform for forums, for example, and Tapatalk is an app that integrates with it that's mobile ready. So if there's a way to integrate one or both of those, then what Bob suggested would also take off.
So I've heard of it's vBulletin, right? vBoard.
Yeah.
Does our platform need to be built off of vBoard?
Just the forum portion of it, because the forum where our communication, that is the most clunky right now, in my opinion. Yeah. And what Bob said, it'd be wonderful that you just tap and talk. It integrates directly into vBoard, and we could just instantly interact.
So John and I are going through a few companies right now. We are working on the app. We're working on turning it into an app. I won't lie to you. It's expensive. And we're having a hard time with where do we come up with the money for it? And we have members of AIR. I don't mind telling anybody, about half the members we have about 140 or 50. About half paid for the whole year. You know what that did? It paid for the website. The website was $18,000. So now we have a little bit coming in monthly for trickling in, which pays for little things. But we're working on it. It's going to be about, I think it's going to be about 12,000. But what the problem is 12,000 seems cheap for an app. I'm afraid to drop 12,000 into something. Hold on. I'm afraid to drop 12,000 into something and it not be a very good.
It's a piece of shit.
It's a piece of crap, and I can't get 12. I would like to try the milk before I bought the cow, but it doesn't quite work that way when we're trying to be software developers. So we're trying to look for something there. So it's on. We're trying, and I want this to be public tonight that it's not going unheard. And I know, excuse me, I'm eating grapes. I know that would change the entire thing. So, but I beg anybody that has, and Brian, I'm going to look into what you just talked. Once you slow down, I kind of know what you're talking about. He's an Aggie too. He went to A&M, so
I'm sorry.
Anyway, but listen, I know, but it is what it is. I mean, I know where we're weakest, and we're trying to get better, but I guess until then we just suffer in silence, right? Join a chapter.
No, it's not suffering in silence. We're taking steps to move forward. It's the same thing that happens with every person's company here. Brian just stated that with the business that he's got coming towards him, that he's hoping that he's gonna have a guy in his truck soon. And when that happens and he hires that guy in the truck, he's about to lose 30, 40 G's a year. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be painful. There's gonna be a lot of growing pains that go with it. And you've seen it. You go from 200,000 a year to 600,000 a year to 2.2 million a year. Each one of those changes, my company where we're currently at, we're opening 2 new franchises, and it sucks. I'm constantly poor. Every dollar I get is gone. Every new job I get, I'm trying to figure out how to run it again. Yep. If I hadn't expanded, life was good. But it errs in the current situation. We have to adapt. We have to overcome. By the way, also, if you're wondering why we both look so hot, Clark decided to come and stay with me, and we came home last night to find out that my AC went on the fritz. So the AC guy's coming tomorrow. So we're in Florida, and it's 85 degrees in my house right now.
It's a hot sauna. So guys, this talk that we're having about. Go ahead.
I feel it. Same here. These ACs are out, and I'm doing this. It's great.
So this talk about AIR. Everybody here probably knows who Chuck Violand is. Mm-hmm. Chuck Violand's a longtime industry legend. I mean, he's helped more businesses start and grow than many of us have seen in our life. But he's got a line of a lesson about, and we heard it at our summit. So anybody that was in Boulder this year, we heard Kenny Chapman say it's very common. What got us here won't get us there. So what we did to build the Rebels to where we got where it was the greatest, we have to pivot. We have to change because those same tactics and procedures aren't going to get us to the next level because it's just the dynamics change, the rules, the people. So we didn't get in front of it. So now we're playing catch up and trying to catch it on the back end, and we'll do it. You know what, guys, I'll be honest. I just kind of burn out. I kind of made some posts today, and I think my frustration shows. So I want to personally apologize for letting that spill over. But anyway, I know we're going to be good. And I know we're righteous, so we're good. And Kristen, I want to thank you for your chapter up there, and Nate was asking a question today. So Nate Judy runs the. We need to create a page where the leaders, Kristen, of the chapters can speak, because he's looking for content about what's working. Rich, I'd like to get you and Dawn in there and just have conversations with other chapters about what topics, what things are working, just some ideas on content about what to discuss at these meetings, because they've only been going through Xactimate estimates, and you can only do that so many times, and then it's kind of boring, right? So I think bringing in some technicians and doing some role playing on some things and training. I mean, there's endless number of things. It takes planning. You can't just show up and say, okay, what do we, like I do with this roundtable. I should be planning on Tuesdays what we're going to talk about on Thursdays, but never ends like, oh crap, we got 10 minutes. We show up like, what are we talking about? I don't know, the weather, 85 degrees. It doesn't make for a good result because we didn't plan it. So I think that lesson goes all the way across. But
Are you thinking instead of the leaders chat thing we have?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just drop in there and just you know, I that's pretty much all that's in there is chapter leaders. So that would just be, you know, hey, Idaho here, we had a great week. Here's what we talked about. Boom, it's 5 bullet points. This is what worked. If you want more information, connect me directly.
Well, and also
Do you want me to make that group?
We have a chapter leader text going on. Are you in that?
I'm in the Facebook Messenger thing.
Yeah. Do you want a separate group for it?
That's what I'm asking. Are you asking me to make a group for that?
No, I think do you want to do it in Messenger? Or do you want to make a group?
make a group is better.
I think a group would be better because the Messenger you lose stuff.
I'll make it tonight.
Okay.
I'll make it.
Also, the other benefit of having that with the leaders is the fact that the leaders can get together and also vet what it is you're going to be talking about in your future meetings.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of the stuff in our industry that's being pushed to us as the most amazing, wonderful new thing that's there, that these companies want us. They want the rebels to be a part of. Doesn't mean it's good in any way, shape, or form for our industry. It just means they're trying to sell whatever it is they're trying to sell or push.
Yeah, you gotta watch what's being sold.
Because the bigger we get, the more that's going to come out, the more that's going to, you know, some of the threads that I see of people pushing to the page, and it's like, man, that's snake poison times 1,000. So,
Man, we're really trying to get on those and block those guys. I know more.
I don't mean, you guys are doing a great job on that, but I'm saying just like the whole idea of what something.
No, totally.
Is we're behind times.
All right. Well, I got my homework, Kristen. I'll do that, and then I'm going to bed in 85 degrees sweat.
I mean, you could open a window, so there's that. You're too late, Clark.
I did everything before we got here yet.